April 9th, 2005. Windsor Castle, 11:47 p.m. What should have been the most romantic night of Camilla Parker Bowles's life turned into the most humiliating experience she would ever endure. After waiting 38 years to become Charles's official wife, Camilla discovered that Diana's ghost would haunt their wedding night in ways that destroyed any possibility of intimacy or happiness. When Charles looked at Camilla in her wedding night negligee and said the words that would shatter her dreams forever, Diana would never have worn something so desperate. Their marriage was effectively over before it had truly begun. What happened during those devastating 6 hours at Windsor Castle proved that some marriages are doomed from the moment they're consummated, and that the memory of a first wife's perfection can destroy any hope of a second wife's happiness. But the most shocking part wasn't Charles's cruel comparison. It was what Camilla discovered about Charles's secret shrine to Diana hidden in their wedding suite. The Cursed Celebration, April 9th, 2005, 6 p.m., a wedding day without joy. Even during the wedding ceremony itself, it was clear that Charles and Camilla's marriage was haunted by Diana's memory. The modest civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall was a stark contrast to Charles's fairy tale wedding to Diana at St. Paul's Cathedral 24 years earlier. Where Charles had looked nervous but excited marrying Diana, he appeared resigned and dutiful marrying Camilla. Where Diana had glowed with youthful beauty and hope, Camilla looked anxious and defensive, as if she were stealing something that didn't belong to her. The guest list was tellingly small. Only family and close friends attended, with William and Harry notably absent from the ceremony itself, attending only the evening blessing. Their absence spoke volumes about their feelings toward their father's new wife. During the vows, Charles's voice lacked any of the emotion he had shown during his first wedding. When he promised to love and honor Camilla, the words sounded hollow, spoken out of obligation rather than passion. But the real disaster began during the wedding reception, when Charles made a toast that would haunt their entire marriage. The devastating toast. 8:30 p.m. Charles's unconscious cruelty. During the wedding reception at Windsor Castle, Charles stood to make a toast to his new wife that would reveal the true state of his heart. "Friends, family," Charles began. "Today marks a new chapter in my life. After many years of difficulty, I am finally able to marry the woman who has stood by me through everything." The toast seemed conventional enough, but Charles's next words revealed his unconscious comparisons. "Camilla has shown me that love doesn't always come in the form we expect. Where my first marriage was built on fairy tale expectations and youthful passion, this marriage is built on mature understanding and realistic acceptance." Camilla's smile froze on her face as she realized Charles was contrasting her unfavorably with Diana even during his wedding toast. "Diana brought youth, beauty, and public adoration to our marriage. Camilla brings wisdom, stability, and private companionship." The guests shifted uncomfortably as Charles continued his unintentionally cruel comparison. "While Diana captured the world's imagination, Camilla has captured my need for peace. While Diana represented the romance of royal marriage, Camilla represents its practical reality." Charles raised his glass. "To Camilla, not the wife I dreamed of in my youth, but the wife I needed in my maturity." The toast that was meant to honor Camilla instead revealed that she was Charles's consolation prize, not his prize itself. Don't miss what Camilla discovered when they entered their wedding suite. The Shrine Discovery, 11:15 p.m. Diana's presence in the wedding suite. When Charles and Camilla finally retired to their wedding suite at Windsor Castle, Camilla expected to find a romantic setting prepared for their wedding night. Instead, she discovered something that would haunt her for the rest of their marriage. Charles had chosen the same suite where he and Diana had spent their wedding night 24 years earlier. But more shocking than the location was what Charles had preserved in the room. On the dresser sat a silver-framed photograph of Diana in her wedding dress, the same photograph that had been there during Charles's first wedding night. Charles had never removed it. "Charles," Camilla said carefully, "why is Diana's photograph still here?" Charles looked genuinely surprised by the question. I hadn't noticed it was still there." But Camilla's exploration of the suite revealed more disturbing evidence of Diana's continuing presence. In the wardrobe hung one of Diana's evening gowns, still wrapped in plastic as if preserved in a museum. On the bedside table sat a book of poetry with Diana's inscription, "To my darling Charles, may our love story never end, Diana." Most shocking of all, under Charles's side of the bed, Camilla found a wooden box containing Diana's love letters, her perfume, and a lock of her hair. "Charles," Camilla said, her voice shaking, "you've created a shrine to Diana in our wedding suite." Charles's response would destroy any possibility of romantic intimacy. The comparison begins. 11:30 p.m., Charles's unconscious cruelty. When confronted with the evidence of his shrine to Diana, Charles's response revealed the depth of his unconscious devotion to his first wife's memory. "Camilla, those things have been here for years. I simply forgot about them. Forgot about them. Charles, these are Diana's love letters, her perfume, a lock of her hair. This isn't forgetting. This is preservation." Charles became defensive. "Those items have sentimental value. Diana was my first wife, and the mother of my children. It's natural that I would keep some mementos. In our wedding suite, on our wedding night." Charles's answer revealed his complete insensitivity. "Camilla, you're being unreasonable. Diana is dead. She's not a threat to you anymore. She's not a threat. Charles, her photograph is watching us from the dresser. Her perfume is scenting our wedding night. Her letters are under our marriage bed." Charles's response was devastating. "If you're threatened by a dead woman's possessions, perhaps you're not as secure in our relationship as you claim to be." Camilla realized that Charles didn't see Diana's overwhelming presence as inappropriate. He saw Camilla's objection to it as jealousy. But Charles's next comparison would shatter Camilla's confidence completely. The cruel comparison. As Camilla prepared for her wedding night, she had chosen an elegant silk negligee that she hoped would make her feel beautiful and desirable on the most important night of her life. When she emerged from the bathroom, expecting to see love and desire in Charles's eyes, she instead saw disappointment and comparison. "Camilla," Charles said with obvious discomfort, "that's rather forward." "Forward? Charles, it's our wedding night. I wanted to look beautiful for you." Charles's response was devastating. Diana would never have worn something so obviously seductive. She understood that true elegance comes from subtlety. The comparison hit Camilla like a physical blow. On her wedding night, Charles was criticizing her appearance by comparing her to his dead wife. Diana had a natural grace that didn't require enhancement, Charles continued, seemingly unaware of how cruel his words were. "Charles, I'm not Diana. I never will be Diana. Can't you accept me as I am? I'm not asking you to be Diana. I'm simply observing that Diana had an innate sense of appropriateness that you seem to lack." Camilla felt her wedding night dreams crumbling. Instead of being desired and celebrated, she was being found wanting in comparison to a woman who had been dead for 8 years. But Charles's cruelest comment was yet to come. As Charles and Camilla attempted to consummate their marriage, it became clear that Diana's presence in the room, both physical and psychological, made intimacy impossible. Charles seemed distracted and distant, constantly glancing at Diana's photograph as if seeking her approval or forgiveness for his betrayal of her memory. When Camilla tried to initiate physical intimacy, Charles's response was shocking. "Camilla, please don't be so aggressive." Diana was gentle and feminine in her approach to these matters. Even in their most private moment, Charles was comparing Camilla to Diana and finding her lacking. "Charles, can we please not discuss Diana during our wedding night?" "I'm not discussing Diana. I'm simply trying to help you understand what I'm accustomed to in terms of romantic behavior." Camilla realized that Charles wasn't making love to her. He was trying to recreate his memories of intimacy with Diana, using Camilla as a substitute. "Charles, look at me. I'm your wife now. I'm the woman you chose to marry. Can't you be present with me instead of comparing me to a ghost?" Charles's answer destroyed any possibility of romantic connection. "Camilla, you knew when you married me that you would always be compared to Diana. The British people will compare you to her. My children will compare you to her. I will compare you to her. If you can't accept that reality, perhaps we made a mistake. The wedding night was over, before it had truly begun. You won't believe what Camilla discovered in Diana's letters. The devastating discovery. 12:45 a.m. Diana's prophetic words. 12. Unable to sleep after the disaster of their wedding night, Camilla made a decision that would haunt her forever. She opened Diana's letters to read what the woman who would forever overshadow her had written to Charles. The letters revealed Diana's complete devotion to Charles and her desperation to save their marriage. But one letter, dated just weeks before Diana's death, contained words that seemed prophetic. "My darling Charles, I know you think our love story is over, but I believe that true love never ends. Even if we can't be together in this life, I will always be with you. Any woman who tries to take my place will discover that she's competing with more than just a memory. She's competing with a love that transcends death itself." Camilla felt sick reading Diana's prediction of her future struggle. Another letter was even more devastating. "Charles, I've given you the best years of my life, borne your children, loved you completely despite your betrayals. If something happens to me, please remember that whatever you build with someone else will always be a pale imitation of what we could have been together." Diana's words seemed to curse Camilla'S marriage before it had even begun. The final letter Camilla read contained Diana's most haunting prediction. "I pity the woman who marries you after me, Charles. She'll spend her life trying to fill a space that was shaped by me, trying to love a man whose heart is buried with his first wife." Camilla realized that Diana had known exactly what would happen to any woman who tried to replace her. The morning after, April 10, 2005, 6 a.m., the reality of marriage, when Charles and Camilla woke up the morning after their wedding, the disaster of their wedding night hung between them like a toxic cloud. Charles seemed oblivious to the damage his comparisons to Diana had caused, treating the evening as if nothing unusual had happened. "Good morning, darling," Charles said cheerfully. "I hope you slept well." Camilla stared at him in disbelief. "Charles, do you realize what happened last night?" "What do you mean? We had a lovely wedding and a peaceful evening." "Peaceful? Charles, you spent our entire wedding night comparing me to Diana. You criticized my appearance, my behavior, my approach to intimacy. You made me feel like an inadequate substitute rather than your chosen wife." Charles seemed genuinely confused by Camilla'S distress. "Camilla, I wasn't criticizing you. I was simply sharing my preferences based on my previous experience. Your previous experience with your dead wife, who you've turned into a perfect saint in your memory. Diana wasn't perfect, but she was Diana. You can't expect me to forget her or stop thinking about her." Camilla realized the hopelessness of her situation. "Charles, I'm not asking you to forget Diana. I'm asking you to stop using her memory as a weapon against me." But Charles's response revealed that their marriage would always be haunted by Diana's ghost. The pattern established, 2005 present, a marriage in Diana's shadow. The disaster of Charles and Camilla'S wedding night established a pattern that would define their entire marriage, constant, unconscious comparisons to Diana that left Camilla feeling inadequate and unloved. At public events, Charles would comment on how Diana would have handled situations differently. During private moments, Charles would unconsciously reference Diana's preferences and behaviors as the standard by which Camilla should be measured. In their most intimate conversations, Charles would invoke Diana's memory as the ideal of royal wifehood that Camilla could never achieve. Most devastatingly, Charles never understood why these comparisons hurt Camilla, genuinely believing that his memories of Diana were harmless nostalgia rather than constant emotional abuse of his second wife. The truth revealed. Charles and Camilla'S wedding night disaster proved that some marriages are doomed from the beginning by the shadow of a previous relationship. Charles's unconscious devotion to Diana's memory made it impossible for him to fully commit to his marriage with Camilla. His cruel comparisons on their wedding night established a dynamic where Camilla would always be found wanting in comparison to a dead woman who had been elevated to sainthood in Charles's memory. Most importantly, the wedding night revealed that Charles had married Camilla not because he loved her, but because he needed companionship and she was available. Diana's prediction that any woman who replaced her would live in her shadow proved devastatingly accurate. Some wedding nights begin a marriage. Others reveal that a marriage was dead before it began. Charles and Camilla'S wedding night proved that you can't build a new love on the foundation of an old obsession, and Diana's ghost would haunt their marriage forever.